Good morning, all. Steve Parisi here with IBC Global. Hope your day is off to a fantastic start as usual. Today we've got number one, Stephani Transue, on the call with us today. Steph, how you doing today?
I am doing good, Steve. How you doing?
Thumbs up over here. Little tired, been like every day going nonstop, but it's all good.
Yep, I agree with that.
You know, espresso solves that problem quite quickly.
There you go.
Right on. Well, what I want to talk about today is a story that you shared a little bit prior to this call, which I think will be beneficial for anyone interested in a policy right now and also those in the business potentially, which is someone that you work with here. And I've had the privilege of meeting with him and speaking with him as well. That when you first connected, he was looking to pay in about $5,000 per year into a policy. And now he's paying in a total of, I'll let you say the amount.
Yeah, over 100,000, actually over 120,000.
Yeah. So I mean that's a huge increase to say the least. So kind of what I want to go through, because a lot of people, this is a trend where people will look at cash value life insurance and it's insurance. So naturally you think bill, hey, it's just an expense. What's the minimum I can pay? But then this particular individual, and a lot of people go through this, they start to see the value and say, wait a minute, I can use this more with the cash value benefits for growing money, repositioning cash, and the loan feature is great. What's it look like if I pay an X amount of dollars before starting a policy? This way I can build that awareness there. So I guess we can, with this one, I think will be really beneficial for people to kind of start with the beginning. Like when he first reached out and he said, hey, I'm interested in a policy. I'm looking at this $5,000 per year funding amount. What happened there? Like when he started, because it was a competitive case too, where you had to put in extra time, and in your mindset, it's like $5,000 per year going in.
Correct. So he was very excited about the concept. He actually found your videos on YouTube and he's like, oh, I really like this. He was looking at a policy with another carrier, which is very well known, very good company. But with what he was looking at or the kind of flexibility that he was looking for, I had in mind another company for him.
Yeah.
So initially we talked about that company specifically that he was looking at looking at initially that $5,000 per year. When we showed those examples, he had a lot of questions. He called in, he kept calling into the office, either directly or even to the main office, or sent a lot of emails, a lot of questions. Again, he was very excited. So the more excited one is, the more information you need to get. And the more illustrations you would like to see as well, which as agents, we agree and encourage, because the more options that you're looking at, you're fully understanding how that money is being allocated, how much money can I pump into it? Because at times, and I'm probably you've seen this a lot, Steve, too, where when you're thinking about a certain policy, you're setting a ballpark amount in your mind. And okay, this will work perfectly. But then the more you understand how the concept works, how the policy design, and how much cash value one will get, you're like, okay, wait a minute, this looks really good.
Yeah.
What it will look like if I put more money into it?
Mm-hmm.
Just creating more of that cash flow so that I'm able to use into investments, use it for retirement as well. And this is what he was gearing more towards: retirement for him and his wife. They want to be able to pump in as much money into the policy the longer that they can and have a good income coming out by the time of around 60, 65. They're hoping or wanting to work the longest that they can, but still accumulate a nice amount of money.
Gotcha.
So after looking at the $5,000 illustrations, he's like, okay, let's restructure that and let's look at up to 20,000. So again, connected over meetings, over calls and such. And then he's like, hey, so I'm not that far away from you guys. I would like to come into the office and sit down with you and Steve and talk to you in person. So we're like, sure. He was approximately about 3 hours away.
That was a hike for him. Yeah, I remember.
It was. And again, he was very excited. He actually came up with his wife, as you remember, and a friend and his wife. So, you and I were like, we're getting prepared. Let's see how it goes. They sit down. They're all very easy to talk to. Actually, he's one of my favorite clients, him and his wife. I love them. Very, again, easy to talk to and just exciting to see his excitement.
Mhm.
So once we met, we went over to the whole presentation. You had another meeting coming up, so I stayed with them for a little bit longer too, and went over a few other questions that they had. Looked at their policies as well because they came prepared. They brought their policies with the other carrier that we initially mentioned, and we looked at those policies and we saw that they could have been structured better.
Mhm.
So we restructure all of that, those policies with a 1035 and looking at, what will be the best move for him and his wife. And then his wife is like, hey, he knows he's looking into Steve. He loves Steve. So whatever he decides, I'm good with it.
Okay.
They, as spouses, we trust one another. And if one spouse is fully educated and fully looking into it, and you're like, okay, it's a good move, let's do it. That
Yeah.
was her mindset as well.
Gotcha. Right on. No, thanks for that info. No, and that was, I remember him coming up. That was a trip for them, a trip and a half. One thing I want to mention though that you touched on is after he looked at the first set of illustrations with the 5,000 per year, which when you show that, you're showing that with a number of companies and number of products because our whole mission statement of the company is to provide options, transparency, and convenience. So here's a ton of options, but then he scales the numbers up to seeing, was it 10, 15, and 20?
Correct.
Right. So that means you're showing not just three samples with 10, 15, and 20. It comes out to about 9 to 12 different illustrations with the different numbers, different funding lengths. A lot of info there.
A lot, that's for sure. Yeah. And, again, all the options, the information between the companies, what are the pros and cons, what would be the best fit. And looking at those options, I really feel that that's what helped them decide to go with the amounts that that they are putting in now with their policies.
Yeah. Big time. So, I mean, something you mentioned too is he said, what does it look like if? And that's a question that comes up from so many people. Hey, if I do this, what will the numbers look like? Because cash value life insurance, it can be confusing. It can be confusing to people in the business, let alone those not in the business. So I've got a big thing where if someone wants to see numbers, like you want to accommodate, show them that, and never have them feel like, oh, I'm annoyed, I got to do this all again. Like, yeah, it might take you time, but at the same time, like as an agent being in the business, that's often how we drive revenue, how we make a living. So, that's where I view it. Yeah, I'll definitely do it for you, as I would like it if someone did it for me, putting those numbers together, never, display or portray any kind of, annoyance or something like that. And I only mention that because it happens in the business, which everyone knows. But, it's good that you took the time when that question comes up, hey, what's it look like if, well, here you go with a number of options and just continue to transition through the process.
Correct. And funny you mentioned that because we'll have some prospects that will come up to us and be like, hey, I've been talking to other agents. I asked for this specific illustration and they're not able to produce it. Or, they told me that they have shown me certain things already and they cannot show me anything else. So as an agency, and I think this is something that everyone in the agency does, where we're trying to accommodate the most that we can for our prospects and future clients, because again, we do want to make sure that they're getting the full picture and that they know, or that they are making sure that they're making the right move as far as not only keep picking the right company, but also the right amount as well.
Yeah, big time. You've got to make everything transparent, which no matter how you slice it is work with the different numbers, different products, different illustrations. Like it takes time. You've got to put that together. And then also you need to make it convenient for people. This way they don't feel overwhelmed. They don't feel like, oh, I've got to come back and ask more questions. Like, no, like they're putting in money. It's their money. They have the right to ask questions regardless of who they're working with. So we don't want to say, hey, you've got to make a decision or something like that. It's like, no. If you do that to people, I mean, it can come back to bite you. And then like, it's not worth any amount of money that you've made if you got to put out a fire.
Yep, that is correct. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. I remember recently working with just a group of attorneys where they sent so many documents just that my wife and I had to sign. And I'm like, all right, I got too much going on. I'm going to print this stuff and get it. It's going to be disorganized. Like, no problem. We'll just, we'll package it up, mail it to you with overnight shipping and you can send it back. I'm like, thank you. It made life easy, made it very convenient. And just from a business perspective, I'm like, okay, that's the kind of stuff that needs to go into practice, the little things like that. Don't ask the client to take the extra steps. take the extra steps for them, make life easy. And when you see people do that, that's where they really grow from a business perspective.
Yes, it's
Mhm.
definitely agree. Convenience. You're always talking about that too,
There you
along with
go.
transparency.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to make life convenient for everyone. So throughout the process, right? So he pumps in a ton of cash. Now he uses his policies as well, correct? I mean, his plans for retirement, but does he use them all with the policy loan process?
Yes, he does. Actually, both him and his wife are fully maxing out their policies. They're loaning out that money and using it for however they like to do it, whether there's investments, real estate. There's so many possibilities with these kind of policies, which is quite nice. And they're on their third policy anniversary year now. And they're so happy with the whole process. They're happy with the carrier that they're with, and that makes me happy. And of course, something that as an agency we always strive to do is keeping that communication, making sure that we're available for our clients, making sure that we are answering the questions, whether they want to look at invoice illustrations, like, hey, how much cash value do I have, or how much more can I pump into my policy? And that's very important. So that way they never feel like that they're alone. And actually with him and his wife, they refer a lot of business over to us. They have a lot of friends. And he's such a friendly client and such a friendly person that a lot of his friends trust him. So they'll come to us and, he'll let me know, it's like, hey, Steph, I'm, forwarding some people over to you. They're excited. I talked to them about it because he not only is he pumping a lot of money into it, he has a lot of knowledge. I mean, he's been watching every single video you put out on YouTube. So he knows as much as an agent. He is so good, which helps out too, because he's able to help out his friends and family. So
Mhm.
he sends them over to us, and which makes me feel good. It's like, oh, Steve and Steph will be able to help you out. I know they'll take care of you. So he
Yeah.
does flow a lot of referrals over to us, which
Yeah.
we appreciate.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I mean, that helps us from a business perspective grow. So no, we always appreciate that. And it's nice when someone's knowledgeable too, because then when he refers someone, they've got a level of knowledge where they're ahead of where most people would be. They're not coming in brand new. So that helps too. And we'll help them out regardless.
Mhm.
So something I want to touch on too, on the communication standpoint, where you've had a lot of meetings with him since day one, and you keep in touch with him on a regular basis. And you've got a lot going on just as an agent here with your everyday duties, helping some of the junior agents. So how do you manage that? Because something I run into, and people always ask, like, hey, if I work with you, am I still going to get proper service? Because if I have questions, I like to get a call back in a certain amount of time. But it seems like you're working with 10,000 people, so like, are you going to be able to help me? So how do you properly communicate in that type of fashion where you're getting back to people? Maybe it's not within 2 minutes, but how do you set expectations, and then what do you do personally there?
Mhm. Great question. We are a successful agency, so we do have a lot of traffic. We do have a lot of meetings, a lot of calls and such. So if he does send me a text, or if he calls me, he knows he'll send me a text to, hey, Steph, you're probably busy. Whenever you can, give me a call, please. Or, send me a text or email. So I do try my best to let him know, hey, I'm caught in a meeting right now. I'll give you a call like within an hour or half hour, however it goes. At times, days to get super busy that I may not give him a call until the next day. But again, it's so crazy at times. But also, as an agency, we do have different departments. So if it's a client that has questions on their policy, and we have client relations that's able to assist in that sense, client relations will reach out and then touch base with me and say, hey, Steph, there was a few questions that the client had. We were able to help with this, but there's one that it will be best if you touch base with them. And I
Excellent.
think that's big too. And that's a big help because again, with the traffic, the amount of traffic that we get and having the different departments goes a long way. Because not only as agents, we are making sure that we have a team, but also the client never feels like they're on their own.
Right.
By having a whole team members behind them, I think gives them the reassurance that they will be taken care of.
Big time. Yeah. I mean, teamwork is what it comes down to. This way, if I can't get an answer from you, but someone else at the company can provide the same answer within 10 minutes or within 10 seconds sometimes, That way my question's answered. I'm good from a policyholder standpoint. And then if I do need to connect with you, or I just want to go over the policy details or something technical, like it will happen. And it's simply a quick text message sometimes. Hey, caught up at the moment. Can you connect at 3:00? Or do you have time, tomorrow at this particular time? Just really being responsive enough there. And texting helps, getting in touch. It's being considerate of other people's time and treating them really how you want to be treated.
Right.
Golden rule. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Right. Definitely. Well, thanks so much for sharing. That was a great story, starting out from the 5K all the way up to the six-figure amount. But it's not really, the story is neat because regardless of the dollar amount, just how you took them through that process, and it's helped the company from the referrals. He's great to work with. I like him and his family. That was fun when they came here. Yeah, the dollar amount, and I don't want to sound, improper when I say it's not about the money. It's more so about helping the individual, setting it up how they want to, and just being responsive. Like if you do that, you'll do very well in business. That's how I look at it.
I agree with that.
Definitely. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me on.
Definitely. No, appreciate it. If anyone would like to contact Steph, we've got her contact info below. Feel free to reach out anytime. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right. Thanks. Hey guys, Steve Parisi here. If you enjoyed the content you just saw, please subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell for future videos. If you'd like more information or to see some custom policies for yourself, feel free to call or email our offices at the contact information below.